Guys, there's no debate here. Our next guest is, without a doubt, one of our favorites to chat to. And quite honestly, long overdue for a good yarn as he takes on Arnold Allen at UFC London next month on March 20th in his featherweight re-debut. The hangman himself, Dan Hooker. Man, we've been waiting for this for quite some time. I've been waiting to say this for quite some time. Welcome back to Submission Radio. How are you, man? And where the hell have you been?
I like that. Re-debut. I haven't heard that one yet. That's a great one. Re-debut.
Mm-hmm. The re-debut. It's good to have you, man. All right, let's start with this. The most important question of all. We know we've had some excellent post-fight reactions from you after fights. So yesterday, were you at Blake's house, aka the pirate ship, watching the fights? And most importantly, how many beers did you have at said pirate ship?
And is that why you're wearing the sunglasses now?
There's definitely. Oh, we're a bit close. We're a bit close to a fight to be having. There'll be no pirate ship in training camp.
Oh.
Pirate ship is completely off limits in training camp. One or two beers. That.
I could see you rocking up to the pirate ship, and there's a photo like out front. Do not serve this man. Dan, you're in training camp. Sorry. Person no gratis.
Yeah. They all know. My mates, they're clear. They stay well away from me during training camp.
I feel like you're off
limits. You're off limits.
You're up to
fun. No fun is allowed to be had.
I feel like you rock up to Blake's house. It's him sitting there with his family, like with his kids, and then Dan's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Blake brings in like a slab of beer. Dan, I thought you had a fight. Come on, Blake, let's go to the pirate ship. What are you doing? I feel like you're the instigator, Dan, but we'll take your word at it. And also, so you just had a couple of beers, so we can ask you then. You were nice and sober. What did you think of Israel's win over Robert Whittaker?
Oh, I thought it was a great fight. It was a pretty incredible fight. Rob made some good adjustments, especially after that first round to get himself back in the fight, which was pretty cool to see. Timing on the takedowns was great. Oh yeah, I thought it was just overall a pretty incredible contest, and it definitely after a performance like that sets up a third fight down the road. I feel like without a doubt. Rob showed that him himself is on another level from everyone else in that division. So he'll definitely get a couple of wins and be back in the title picture for sure.
So you'd like to see a third fight down the road. I know Rob said it's inevitable. I got the feeling from Israel that he was like, I don't know. He kind of said it to Rob, I think, to be polite in the moment. Dana didn't seem that keen, but you'd want to see a third one, right?
Yeah. Israel's my brother, and then outside of that, I want nothing but success for Rob. I think he's here. That's it. Israel is the champ, and then I feel like Rob is head and shoulders over everyone else in the division. So I feel like, it's kind of, I feel like Rob's got such a long career ahead of him. It's kind of inevitable that fight will take place a third time.
There could be another huge fight down here as well, maybe Marvel Stadium or another big stadium in Australia. So that's definitely that if things play out that way. By the way, what did you think of Rob and some people online believing that he won the fight?
And just the scoring in general.
I don't see how it's just hard, like after such a dominant first fight, Rob, Israel pretty much having the fight finished after the first round and then doing the same again in the second round, then that becomes people's bar for measuring. They expect that. That's why they always say, it's dangerous to have a rematch with someone, because you never want to take a rematch unless you feel like you can do better than the first time. And, Israel's performance in the last fight is pretty hard to beat. That was pretty about as dominant as a fight gets. So that becomes people's measuring stick for the second fight. So if that's a measuring stick for the second fight, well, then Rob did incredible. Rob did 100 times better than he did the first fight. So it then becomes difficult. When Rob gets some success, people are like, well, he's getting success. He must be he must be running away with it, or he must be winning. Like, he's doing way better than he did last time. But in all over. Once you score the fight, it was pretty clear that Israel had control. Had control of 3 rounds. Going into the 4th and 5th round even, and then the onus becomes on Rob to do something, take the risks and go out of his comfort zone and try to kind of turn the tide of the fight in a big way.
In saying that though, Dan, Marvin Vettori is the real champ, right?
Like the amount of people that have messaged me and think that I genuinely think that is quite hilarious.
People took it seriously?
I was saying it as obviously a joke. It's obviously a joke. People are funny.
Is that do you reckon that's the number one sledge that stands out between you two, or is there anything else that pops into your mind?
Oh, that's probably like safe for work. Like I think I think Oscar was like, "Oh, can you share the video?" And I was like, "Oh, I kind of remember saying some pretty terrible stuff before that." And I'm just like, Israel obviously can't. He'll like get his YouTube channel stripped down off YouTube or something like that if he puts a video up. So I think yeah, if you could put like me just saying that, but I think I said some other stuff that you probably can't say before I said that.
Yeah, you gotta save it for.
Let's leave the video out. Let's just leave the video. Forget there's a video and move on.
It'd be too short. There's too much trimming before and after to really release a video. It's not as I love the phrasing, safe for work. By the way, you and Oscar on the pub talks, man. Just fantastic stuff. Hopefully you guys do one in London.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I'm already hanging for the next one. The ones where you drank beers.
The
ones where you drank beers were the more fun ones. You could tell. You could tell once the beers started kicking in, the more stories came out.
Yeah. Nah, loose slips sink ships. Everyone knows that. But no, I think we're gonna do a couple. So I think we might do one before. So that, or if we're going off your standards, that one will be shit because I can't drink beers for that one. And then maybe the day after the fight, that one will probably be incredible. Well, it could be incredible, or it could be like our last one when we both hadn't slept for 2 days, and then it might be terrible. So we're just gonna have to wait and see. That's the kind of the fun of that show.
Yeah, exactly. You never know what happens. All right, so
sometimes good, sometimes bad,
but still good.
I think they're all good. It's just some go more off the rails, which is like you live for those ones, and then some are like, as you said, safe for work.
Safe for work.
But speaking of work, so. Exciting, man. This is the real story. This is what we really want to talk to you about. You're weeks away from making your featherweight re-debut against Arnold Allen at UFC London. Compared to you normally being 4 or 5 weeks out from a lightweight fight, what's the biggest difference now as you head into your featherweight re-debut?
I don't feel any different. I feel the same as I felt at lightweight, which is good. Yeah, I'm just. I'd say if anything, I'm just more focused. Like it just requires more focus. Like it's like a bit longer diet outside of training camp. You just have to be kind of dialed in. So it's just allows me to be like hyper focused or more focused than I usually would be at this point. Because you're just totally everything you eat, everything you drink. All your training, everything needs to be on point for featherweight. Like there's no room. I feel like there's a lot of wiggle room at lightweight for me. Like the Nasrat fight where I'm going over the day before and cutting and like things like that. Like that you could get away with, that you can't get away with. Like everything has to be. All your ducks have to be in a row. For me to get down to featherweight, and everything's falling into place.
What do you think is the biggest difference between this Dan Hooker at featherweight in 2022 compared to you at featherweight in 2016? I imagine there's got to be some difference in the way you're dealing with your nutrition and just the lifestyle changes, because it seemed like before it was just brutal on you back in those 2016 days.
Yeah, but like a lot of things have changed. A lot of things have changed. It's not just the weight class. Like when I was at featherweight previously, I wasn't even training at City Kickboxing. I didn't have Eugene as my full-time head coach, or working with Twist and working with Andre and working with all of my other coaches. I didn't lift weights. I didn't get in there with my strength and conditioning coach, Makoto. I didn't have a nutritionist in Geordie. The UFC PI wasn't even built. They didn't even exist like this. It's just apples and oranges. You know, you just can't really compare when I used to be a featherweight compared with now.
Yeah, well, especially like, yeah, you've painted quite the picture of just how many differences there are now. I'm just curious, did you back then, like after the Jason Knight fight, did you ever think that you'd be back down at featherweight? I remember we were asking you more about like welterweight with, you know, your win over Gilbert Burns and him being like a title contender. But did you ever think like, oh, at some point I'll be back down at featherweight?
It kind of just came with time. To be honest, like it was more like a change of weight class and a fresh start. And then I found some success and found my feet, which made me not really even think about it, or didn't really cross my mind. But kind of as time went on, and it just became very easy to make lightweight almost too easy kind of thing. And then it was so easy that you could kind of cut corners and eat what you want during training camp, and just that level of focus that I had been accustomed to for the rest of my career wasn't acquired. Like, it would be very difficult for another person to kind of do what I've done, but I've become accustomed to it. I've become accustomed to training camp being like a lot of suffering, and that is something that I handle quite well. Or like, maybe people call me a sucker for punishment. Like I like live in that and I thrive in that, and that just adds like a level of focus that I don't have, or I don't need to commit to at lightweight. So it's I feel like it's definitely the best move for my career, and I'm expecting a lot from this move.
Yeah, that's really an interesting perspective, actually, because I don't think we've heard that before, but so fascinating that, like the extra commitment of being in that weight class in a way keeps you extra tuned up mentally and physically going into the fight. And I really love that. That's really, really interesting. And I'm also wondering as well, because you were angling for a fight with a Korean Zombie and Brian Ortega. You've got you got Arnold Allen at UFC London. What was your reaction when his name came across your desk?
Oh, great fight. That's an incredible fight. Calling for like Korean Zombie or Brian Ortega, the intention of that isn't necessarily because I care so much and I want to fight those guys, or I think I can beat those guys, or anything like that. It's just setting your intentions with the division. You ask for the guys that are just coming off fighting for the title, or guys that are positioning themselves to compete for the title. Like it's just showing your intentions with the division. And Arnold Allen is a perfect name. You know, a guy on an 8-fight UFC win streak is contending for a title. Like, he's positioning himself for a title, and to get a massive card like this, like it's a huge card. You know, we've had a few stadium shows in America. Mm-hmm. We've had a few, in a stadium show that the boys were on in Houston. This is the first international stadium show, and so it's just kind of a perfect storm to have me on the card. It's just like the UFC, as soon as you open up, the UFC will be there with bells on. You know, it's the same thing that if Australia or New Zealand were to open up, like I guarantee that the UFC would be in there, and they'd be so excited to book an event. So that's why I'm so pumped to travel all that way, to go to the complete opposite side of the world, just because we're getting to run a full stadium. This is the first international event since the pandemic. Like, I'm excited to be a part of it.
I think it's a huge fight just for the division in general. Like you mentioned, he's on a 10-fight win streak overall, 17-1, overall record. You go in there, you take out a guy like Arnold Allen. It's a massive, massive statement for you in the featherweight division. Speaking of statements, nothing sends a statement like a freshly shaved sack and a couple of smooth plums. And you can achieve that with the Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0, the black belt of grooming tools, the pound-for-pound greatest grooming tool in the world with its 7,000 RPM pure power motor. You've got the ceramic blade and the skin-safe technology, so never have to worry about cutting yourself ever again. It's got the LED light. It's also waterproof, so you can do it in the shower, and then you chuck it on the wireless charging dock and just move on with your life. And for now, the Performance Package 4.0 comes with the Lawnmower 4.0, the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, the Crop Preserver ball deodorant, so you're nice and fresh, and the Crop Reviver toner, which you can carry around with you or leave it in your car. And if you're feeling unfresh, you just splash it on and you're good to go. You get free underwear and the free shed travel bag. All of a sudden, your confidence boosting through the roof. Isn't that right, Dennis?
Yeah, I think this is really game changing. I mean, back in the day, you'd have to go to all these different stores, get all these different things, and constantly worry about, oh, do I have this? Do I have that? Is my rusty razor going to be able to deal with this? And then you're trying to trim your face and do all that. And this is your one-stop shop in one perfect package with Manscaped. You guys can get 20% off and free shipping with the code word submission today. Really game-changing stuff here. Whether you go into the gym, you want to do your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you want to do your boxing, you want to play your basketball, whatever it is, you want to go on a date, you want to make sure that your beard's looking right for the next, work meeting, whatever it is, it's ready to go. It's reliable. It's the best in the business. Manscaped is the only place to go, Cass. And speaking of places to go, man, yesterday, interesting Super Bowl halftime show, very, very entertaining. A lot of legends there. And did you make some money off your prop bets? Because there was only one place to go for all the biggest prop bets in the game, and that was with our friends at MyBookie. MyBookie delivered when it came to UFC 271, delivered when it came to the Super Bowl. And now with the big cards around the corner, what about this Dan Hooker fight at UFC London? What about UFC 272? Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal, who are you backing for that one? Only one place for you guys to go and place all your bets, all your prop bets, all sorts of bets, and that is at MyBookie. You guys can double your first deposit with the code word submission today. Double your first deposit with the code word submission. It's not just fighting, it's NBA, NHL, whatever it is, whatever you want to bet on, only one place to do it, and that is at MyBookie, Cass.
That's right. While you're on the internet, you're doing a bit of punting, you're dealing with, your credit card information and personal details. You want to make sure that you're protected. Dan Hooker going over to London, probably going to be on all sorts of dodgy Wi-Fi's in, airports and planes, etc. You don't know who's looking at what you're browsing, what you're looking at, who's stealing your PayPal information. So make sure you're protected with NordVPN. Undefeated, nobody does it any better. If you're like me and you're always on all sorts of questionable websites, you don't want, your neighbor or your internet service provider or the FBI, looking at what you're looking at. Keep everybody out. Keep the privacy real. Incognito mode, it doesn't really do the job. But NordVPN keeps you nice and safe. And more importantly, for, people with, real world uses, like us and yourself, you get the benefit of all sorts of different shows on different streaming platforms. So if you've got Netflix and let's say you're in the US and then you switch it to you change your virtual location to the UK. Now you've got all sorts of different TV shows. Maybe you change it to Canada. Maybe you change it to Australia. Maybe I keep banging on about it. Maybe you change it to Malaysia. Bang, all of a sudden you've got great shows like Breaking Bad. So you don't have to get all sorts of different streaming services and other platforms. You just change your virtual location and now you've got all the shows whenever you want them. You've got content from over 59 different countries and over 5,000 different servers just by changing your virtual location with one click. And best of all, amazing speed thanks to NordLynx. No bandwidth throttling and avoid buffering because it keeps you nice and quick. And I've got NordVPN on just all the time in the background, nice and safe. Isn't that right, Dennis?
That's right, man. Make the only hardcore thing about your browser history, your hardcore internet security. And what about this hardcore deal from NordVPN's birthday offer? This is pretty crazy, man. You guys can grab this exclusive deal right now by going to nordvpn.com/submission. Use the link below or use the code word submission. You get a huge discount up to 72% off your NordVPN plan, plus one additional month for free, plus a bonus gift. And by the way, BTW, it's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. There is absolutely no risk. Secure internet today and stay out of prison for a couple more years.
All right. With that said, going back to Dan's world domination tour as he goes to the UK, goes to London. Dan, I don't think you're the kind of guy that anybody would really boo anywhere in the world. I think, like, you know, because he's a hometown favorite, they'll cheer him extra and they'll still cheer you. But sometimes you have these fights where, like, you kind of get the sense like, oh, the UFC is, you know, like kind of setting up a big moment for the hometown guy. Do you feel that in any way? I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but did it cross your mind at all? You're like, oh, okay, I'm going into enemy territory against a guy who's on a good win streak. Do you feel like you're playing spoiler in any way?
I think people are excited for the fight. I think people, not like baying for blood and looking at me as the enemy. It's kind of like when I fought Ally Quinta in Melbourne. Like, generally when you fight down in this side of the world, in Australia or New Zealand, when you fight, you know, they generally get out there and they get on your opponent and they're booing your opponent and things like that and cheering for you. But it wasn't like that with Al, just because the fans respect like the amount of work that he's put in to putting on good fights and putting on good performances and entertaining them for a career. So yeah, it's kind of that same position. I'm expecting them to back Arnold. I'm expecting them to like a huge pop for him. It's a massive opportunity for him, you know, to be in a position like that, fighting in front of his hometown people. But yeah, I feel like there's, like you say, there's a bit of respect there for what I've done in my career and some of the shows that I've given the fans, and there's that respect there. So I'm not expecting to kind of get booed out of the stadium or anything like that.
Mm.
I just feel like this is a continuation of the Dan Hooker World Tour. You know, it's kind of like when the Rolling Stones are doing stadium shows all around the world. Like, there's really something special when it's all said and done and you look back at your amazing career. The fact that you're going all around the world, sometimes in a day's notice. All right, I'm going to go here. I'm going to fight this guy. And it kind of goes back to the old school days of like the Muhammad Ali's and the legends fighting all around the world and having these big marquee fights. It really feels like that to me with you going over there to London and putting on this great fight. I have to ask though, man, like Eugene Bareman obviously is stuck a little bit overseas after this fight. He's stuck in Vegas until around March 13th. So what does camp look like without Huge being there and the rest of it for you?
That's like the benefit of our team and being at home is there's so many people to kind of fill those gaps when he steps away. Like, our team is so incredibly deep. That's like when people were saying, oh, City Kickboxing is going to move country, and I was thinking that's a lot of people. That's 100 people that kind of make up the framework of all of the boys' success. You know, there's 100 training partners and their families and their things that they can't leave, and we've got everything. You know, everything. The support system that we have here in New Zealand is second to none, and it's pretty incredible. So yeah, there's a lot of people here that can fill those gaps and step up to the plate while Huge is out of town.
So what's your corner going to look like for the night? Is Huge going to be able to pull a sneaky one and go over to London, or how's that going to look?
Yeah. Huge will be there in London, and then my striking coach Tristram is coming as well. So Eugene and Tristram, and then Silk, I believe Silk Cummings. He's a UK fighter that's come over here and trained here in New Zealand with the boys at City Kickboxing. Obviously, he hasn't been able to get back because of the pandemic and things like that, but it'll be good to go over and train at his gym. I think it's called Ronin MMA in Birmingham, and get out there, get some rounds in, check out his training setup that he has there. So I'm honestly, I'm just looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to getting over there, seeing a new place, seeing and meeting people that I haven't met before, putting on a show for fans that haven't seen me fight before, in the first international event in the last couple of years. So it's nothing but excitement for me here in New Zealand. There's only a couple of weeks left in the training camp, so it's just amping up the closer and closer I get.
Yeah, the CWO is going to be taking over London. We cannot wait. As we let you go, man. And before you shut down London with Oscar after the fight with your pub talk, you got to tell us, what are you expecting from this fight with Arnold? How's it feeling for you as you sort of picture it? And is there something like that you want to particularly display in this return to 145? What's the mindset there?
Nothing in particular. I just think just go out there and let it all shine out. Let it all this hard work that I've been putting in for the last decade just shine through. You know, I've been doing this for so long. I've so much experience. It's it's time to just let all that hard work shine. So that's it. I'm not holding on to anything too tight. Wherever the fight goes, whether we're striking or grappling and mixing it up with the wrestling, like I'm excited. I'm just excited. I'm excited to get out there. Excited to get out there and have a great contest with a pretty incredible martial artist.
I'm excited, man. The Dan Hooker World Tour continues with his featherweight re-debut against Arnold Allen. March 19th, it's going to be the 20th in Australia and New Zealand at UFC London. Follow the man on Twitter at Dan the Hangman and Instagram, Dan Hangman. One of our favorites. Love chatting to you, Dan. And I don't know what I'm more excited about, the fight itself or the pub talk. It's probably the fight, but only by a little bit. So the best of luck, Dan, and thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Pleasure, lads. No worries. Thank you.